The Vexistorian death pack stopped hunting after 3 days near the human researcher's tent. And now, they're dreaming. Korvax stared at the surveillance feed, his secondary manipulators frozen mid-gesture. In 17,000 cycles of directing the Galactic Predator Studies program, he had never seen a Vexitorian sleep in the presence of prey. They didn't sleep, they hunted. That was the entire point of breeding them. "Replay timestamp 1432, he commanded, his voice tight. The holographic display rewound. There, the human, Dr. Emma Johnson, according to her research permit, walked past the Vexitorian Alpha. Not around, not cautiously. Past, like it was a decorative plant. The Alpha's killing spines had begun their strike reflex, the biological trigger that had ended 43 council members during the last war, and then stopped, retracted, the creature's head tilted in what the behavioral algorithms flagged as curiosity. "Sir, the Cronath Pride is exhibiting the same pattern." His assistant Zelia pulled up a second feed. "They've abandoned their hunting formation. 3 of the cubs are sleeping within 20 meters of the human's campfire." 20 meters? Cronath cubs could disembowel a Thoraxian battle mech at 30 meters. They were born hunting. Korvax cycled through the remaining feeds with mounting dread. The Scarix brood, docile. The Pyrithian stalker clan, circling the human's tent in what looked disturbingly like a protective pattern. The Geltorian razorbacks, bred specifically to hunt humans after the Battle of Epsilon Prime, were lying in the shade near her equipment cache. All 7 apex predator species, all 7 showing catastrophic behavioral collapse. "Contact the Council," Korvax said. "Emergency session, now." "Sir, the Council is going to want to know." "I know what they're going to want to know." He pulled up the human's research journal, accessed through standard surveillance protocols. Her latest entry made his blood run cold. Day 12. Interesting local fauna. Several large predator species observed. Seem relatively unbothered by my presence. Excellent news for the fungal spore collection, less disruption to the ecosystem. Note: the 6-legged ones have beautiful bioluminescent patterns at dusk. Beautiful. She'd called Vexistorians beautiful. "She doesn't know," Zelia whispered. "She has no idea what she's doing." That wasn't quite right, Korvax realized with creeping horror. The human knew exactly what she was doing, collecting fungal samples. The predators were simply irrelevant to her. Background fauna. Interesting enough to note, not interesting enough to fear. His communicator flared. The Council's emergency response channel. "Director Korvax, we've received your alert. Explain the situation." Council Prime Zilax's voice carried the weight of 1,000 conquered systems. 7 apex predator species are exhibiting unprecedented behavioral anomalies, all weapons-grade specimens, all in proximity to a single human researcher. Silence. Then, "The predators we specifically bred for Council security? Those predators?" "Yes, Prime." "And the human is, what? Controlling them somehow? Neural manipulation? Pheromone warfare?" Korvax looked at the current feed. Dr. Emma Johnson was crouched by a fallen log, carefully collecting samples into small containers, humming tunelessly. A Cronath cub had wandered within 5 meters, watching her with clear fascination. She glanced up, said, "Hey, buddy," and returned to her work. The cub sat down. Just sat, like it was waiting for class to begin. "No, Prime," Korvax said quietly. "She's ignoring them." "That's impossible. Our psychological profiles indicate humans have strong threat response mechanisms. She should be terrified, weaponized, calling for evacuation." Korvax pulled up the damning image. The human's notebook, sitting unattended on a folding chair outside her tent. A Scarix brood mother circled it repeatedly, but wouldn't approach closer than 3 meters. Prime. The predators are treating her research equipment like a territorial boundary marker. They won't cross it. We spent 3,000 years breeding those creatures, Zilak said, his voice dropping to a dangerous register. Millennia of genetic optimization. Each one can kill a council member in under 4 seconds. They're our insurance policy against human expansion. They're supposed to be unkillable. They're not dead, Prime. They're dreaming. Korvac zoomed in on the Vexitorian pack. All 5 adults were in a state of light torpor, their killing spines retracted, their sensory clusters dimmed. The humans been here 12 rotations. The predators attempted standard hunting protocols for the first 3 rotations, then stopped. Now they just follow her. Watch her. The cubs are sleeping in a circle around her tent at night. The silence stretched so long that Korvax checked his connection. Contact Galactic Security, Zilax finally said. Threat level, existential. If one human can accidentally pacify our entire predator program, we need to know how before Earth notices what she's done. Korvax closed the channel and looked back at the feeds. Dr. Emma Johnson had finished her sample collection and was setting up her portable lab. A Perithian stalker, capable of hunting in 7 dimensions simultaneously, was lying nearby, watching her with all 6 eyes. This wasn't supposed to be possible. But then again, humans rarely were. The Galactic Security Team arrived within 6 hours, their ship's descent scattering a flock of native avians. Korvax met them at the observation station, already queuing up the footage they needed to see. Show us the attacks, Commander Jotaro demanded, his combat exoskeleton humming with readiness. That's the problem, Korvax said, pulling up the compilation. There weren't any. The security team watched in silence as Dr. Emma Johnson's first 3 days played out, in accelerated time. Day 1. She'd walked within striking distance of the Vexitorian pack 4 times. 4 separate attack sequences initiated, spines extending, neural paralysis, venom charging, killing posture engaged. Each time, the sequence aborted milliseconds before completion. Equipment malfunction? Jotaro asked, but his voice lacked conviction. Negative. We ran full diagnostics on all specimens. Physical condition optimal. Neural pathways firing correctly. They're choosing to abort. Day 2 footage showed the Kronath Pride stalking the human for 3 hours. Standard pack hunting formation, perfect execution, closing to optimal strike range. The human stopped walking, pulled out a device, and aimed it at them. Weapon, one of the security officers asked hopefully. Camera, Zilia said, appearing in the doorway. The xenopsychologist looked like she hadn't recharged in cycles. She stopped to photograph them. Her exact words were, she pulled up the audio. Oh, neat. You guys have really cool markings. The human in the footage waved at the Kronath Pride, then continued collecting plant samples. The Pride sat down and watched her go. This is observer paralysis, Zilia continued, her voice strained. The predators have categorized her as a non-threatening researcher. She exhibits no prey behaviors, no running, no fear responses, no defensive posturing. She's just working. They don't have a behavioral framework for it. Then trigger 1, Jotaro snapped. Initiate aggression protocols. Korvax pulled up the results from that morning's attempted intervention. His team had deployed airborne pheromones designed to trigger feeding frenzies in all 7 predator species simultaneously. The chemical formula had cost 2 research stations and 17 test subjects to perfect. The footage showed predators stirring, aggression markers spiking, hunting drives activating. And then the human stepped out of her tent with her morning coffee. She scratched her head, yawned, and walked right through the Scarix brood. The aggression markers flatlined. 3 of the Scarix juveniles followed her to her workspace and lay down nearby. They won't leave her proximity, Korvax said. We've tried every trigger we have. The predators are more interested in staying near the human than hunting. Jotaro cycled through his threat assessment protocols visibly. We evacuate her. Remove the variable. Already attempted, Zelia said tiredly. She played the communication log from 2 hours ago. Dr. Johnson, this is Galactic Wildlife Management. We need you to evacuate the research zone immediately due to dangerous predator activity in your area. Thanks for the heads up, but I'm in the middle of some really important fungus documentation. These specimens only fruit for like 3 more days. I should be fine. The local animals seem pretty chill. Doctor, these are not... The predators in your vicinity are extremely dangerous. Oh, you mean the big colorful ones? Yeah, they're gorgeous. Great subjects for my photo documentation. Thanks, though. The communication had ended. Dr. Johnson had returned to her fungi. She refused, Jotaro said flatly. She thanked us for our concern and refused, Korvax corrected. When we sent an unmanned drone to attempt forced extraction, the Pyrithian stalker destroyed it. Then the human moved her camp 3 kilometers east to avoid the debris. All 7 predator groups followed her. Jotaro was silent for a long moment. Show me current live feed. Korvax switched to real-time surveillance. Dr. Emma Johnson's new campsite was already established. Tent, portable lab, equipment cache, and 1 folding chair with her notebook on it. The notebook sat in a small clearing, completely unattended. The Vexistorian Alpha circled it. Twice, 3 times. Approached to within 2 meters, sensory clusters extended, analyzing. It could have destroyed the notebook in seconds, shredded it with those killing spines. Instead, it backed away and resumed its position at the perimeter. They're guarding it, Xylia whispered. Look at the formation. She was right. The predators had arranged themselves in overlapping security zones around the human's research area. Not hunting positions, defensive positions. And there, Korvax highlighted the thermal signatures near the campfire. 3 species of cubs, sleeping together, within 5 meters of a human. Jotaro's exoskeleton powered down. I'm going in personally. Combat assessment, close-range observation. If this human has some kind of pacification technology, I'll identify it. And if she doesn't, Zelia asked. Then we have a bigger problem than malfunctioning predators, Jotaro said grimly. We have a species that can accidentally domesticate our most lethal weapons without even trying. Janira arrived on the morning of day 15, her credentials preceding her like a shockwave. Chief Predator Behaviorist for the Galactic Council, author of The Killing Mind, Apex Psychology across 10,000 species, architect of the entire weapons-grade Predator program. She took 1 look at the surveillance feeds and requested every piece of behavioral data they had. 72 hours later, she emerged from the analysis chamber looking like her worldview had been fed through a shredder. Nothing, she said, her voice hollow. 3,000 years of research. 47 million documented predator interactions. Behavioral models that predicted the fall of the Keshatar Empire down to the individual casualty. None of it explains this. Korvax pulled up the latest footage. A Geltorian razorback, bred specifically to hunt humans, imprinted with human scent profiles from birth, trained on human movement patterns. was lying on its back near Dr. Johnson's tent, sunbathing. They're acting like domesticated companion animals, Janira continued, her academic composure cracking. Do you understand what I'm saying? These are apex predators with kill counts in the thousands, and they're behaving like pets. The human's latest log entry, Zelia said quietly, pulling up the video. Dr. Emma Johnson appeared on screen, sitting outside her tent, coffee mug in hand. Day 15. The local wildlife is surprisingly chill. I was worried about predator interference with the research, but honestly, they're less disruptive than the squirrels back at the university. The big six-legged ones seem really curious about the specimen jars. It's actually kind of cute. Cute. She'd called Vextorians cute. Sir, one of the technicians interrupted. The human just noticed our observation satellite. Every head in the station turned to the live feed. Dr. Johnson was indeed looking up, shading her eyes against the sun, studying the satellite's orbital position with clear interest. Then she pulled out her communicator. Oh no, Korvax muttered. The station's communication array lit up. Incoming call from Dr. Emma Johnson. Jotaro accepted it, his combat training the only thing keeping his voice steady. This is Galactic Research Station 7. Oh hey, the human's face appeared, smiling. Are you folks doing wildlife research too? I thought I was the only one out here. This is great. We should totally share data. There was a long silence. Janira made a gesture that roughly translated to answer her before I have a breakdown. Dr. Johnson, Jotaro said carefully. We've been observing the local predator populations. We're concerned about your safety. Oh, the big animals? Emma laughed. They're totally fine. I mean, they look scary, sure, but they haven't bothered me at all. I just treat animals with respect and don't act like prey, you know? Works every time. Don't act like prey. Janira's secondary arms began trembling. Dr. Johnson, Korvax interjected, could you explain your methodology? For comparative research purposes. Sure. So basically, predators respond to confidence more than anything else. You don't run, you don't panic, you don't make yourself small. You just go about your business. They're intelligent creatures. They can tell when something isn't food. She stood up, still holding the communicator. Here, I'll show you. I need to grab my notebook anyway. Doctor, wait. But she was already walking directly toward the Vexistorian pack. Not around them, not cautiously. Through them. The observation station held its collective breath. The Vexistorians parted, like water around a stone, like subjects before a queen. The Alpha actually shifted position to give her more room. Emma picked up her notebook from the folding chair, completely unbothered. See? No problem. They're just curious about what I'm doing, the little ones especially. I think they're still learning what's dangerous and what isn't. She scratched something in her notebook, and 3 predator cubs from different species immediately perked up, watching intently. They're learning from her, Zelia breathed. She thinks they're learning about danger, but they're learning from her. She's teaching them. Teaching them what? Jotaro demanded. That she's the apex. Janira said, her voice distant. Look at the body language. The cubs aren't watching prey. They're watching a teacher, a parent, an authority figure. Emma returned to her tent, utterly casual. Anyway, if you want to compare notes on the local ecosystem, I'm happy to share. This fungal diversity is incredible. I found at least 6 new species. She disconnected. The observation station erupted into chaos. She's not ignoring them, Janira said, talking over everyone. That's not neglect or obliviousness. That's dominance. Advanced psychological dominance executed so naturally, she doesn't even recognize she's doing it. The notebook, Korvac said, suddenly understanding. It's not just research equipment. It's a knowledge marker. She documents, she records, she studies. The predators see intelligence in action. And they respond to it, Zelia added. She's not prey. She's not a threat. She's something else. Something they don't have a framework for. Janira pulled up Earth's planetary database with shaking hands. We bred these predators by studying how they hunt prey species. We optimized their killing patterns, their stalking behaviors, their pack dynamics. Her voice cracked. We never considered how they'd react to a species that doesn't recognize them as threats. Because we've never encountered a species that doesn't recognize them as threats. She pulled up Earth's current megafauna listings. Her species evolved alongside wolves, bears, big cats, crocodiles, sharks. They're all still there. Humans didn't exterminate them. They didn't run from them. The list scrolled on and on. They studied them, Janira whispered. They documented them. They learned from them. And sometimes, she pulled up an image that made everyone's blood run cold. They brought them back. The image showed a human child, no bigger than a Cronoth cub, standing on the other side of clear material from an earth wolf. The child's hand was pressed against the barrier. The wolf's paw was pressed against the same spot. Both were wagging. We built weapons, Janira said. They built zoos. Korvac spent the next 2 days deep in Earth's databases, accessed through official diplomatic channels. What he found destroyed every assumption the Galactic Council had ever made about humanity. They have buildings dedicated to keeping apex predators alive, he announced at the emergency council session. Thousands of them, across their entire planet. They call them zoos. He pulled up footage of human children, running up to transparent barriers where Earth's most lethal predators paced mere centimeters away. The children were laughing. The predators were watching them. Not hunting. Watching. These creatures. Korvac highlighted a massive striped feline. Can kill an adult human in seconds. Humans know this. They document it extensively. And then they bring their offspring to observe them. Stupidity, someone muttered. Recklessness. No, Janira said. Strategy. Multi-generational desensitization. Their young learn that predators are dangerous but observable. Threatening but understandable. Lethal but not. And this is critical, not superior. Zelia pulled up another file. They live alongside these predators in the wild, active populations of wolves, bears, crocodiles, sharks. Current, present day, on the same planet where they build their cities. That's Zilak started, then stopped. How many casualties? Minimal, Korvac said quietly. They have protocols, education systems. They teach their young how to coexist. Sometimes humans die. They accept this. They don't exterminate the species responsible. The council chamber fell silent. This is the most terrifying part, Janira said, her voice shaking. Show them the wolf data. Korvac displayed the historical records. Human civilization expanding, wolf populations declining, near extinction. And then, they brought them back, he said. Deliberately. Wolves had been almost completely exterminated from large portions of their territory. Humans studied the ecological damage. And then they reintroduced the apex predators they'd nearly destroyed. Why? Zalax demanded. What possible strategic advantage? Because the ecosystem worked better with them. Zelia said simply. They value functional balance over dominance. They'd rather coexist with creatures that could kill them than live in a world without them. Jitaro pulled up the current feed from Dr. Johnson's camp. The Kronath cubs were sleeping in a pile near her tent. She'd left out a water container, and adult predators from 3 different species were using it. The cubs are dreaming, Janira said softly. For the first time in their selectively bred, hyper-aggressive, genetically optimized existence, they feel safe enough to dream. Because this human, she gestured at Emma, who was currently labeling specimen jars, treats them like they're part of a functional ecosystem, not weapons. Korvax opened a communication channel. Dr. Johnson, this is Research Station 7. We need to discuss the wildlife situation. Emma looked up, waving at the satellite. Sure, what's up? The predators in your area are not native to this planet. They're part of a relocation program. We're concerned about their behavioral adaptation. Oh. Emma's face brightened. That makes sense. Some of their behaviors seemed really unusual for natural fauna. Are they doing okay? Do you need help socializing them to the new environment? The council chamber erupted in frantic whispered conversations. We might appreciate your consultation, Korvax managed. Happy to help, though I gotta say. Emma glanced at the predators around her camp. Maybe try not breeding them for maximum scariness next time. These guys are clearly intelligent and social. They'd probably be less stressed with more enrichment activities. Janira made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. We'll take that under advisement, Zilax said, his voice strained. Dr. Johnson, for the record, do you feel threatened by these predators? Threatened? Emma looked genuinely confused. No, they're just animals. Dangerous animals, sure, but so are moose. You just treat them with respect and give them space. They're not out to get me. The council ended the call. Our insurance policy against human expansion, Zilax said slowly, was fundamentally flawed from inception. Recommendation? Jitaro added grimly. Never deploy predator species against Earth. It won't work. It can't work. They've been doing this for millennia. Janira was already drafting her paper, fingers flying across her data tablet. Predator hierarchies and human indifference. A study in species-level apex dynamics. This is going to rewrite every behavioral model in the galaxy. Update all emergency protocols, Zilax ordered. Human presence may pacify security predators. They're not weaponizing our predators. They're accidentally domesticating them. Korvax looked at the live feed one last time. Emma was packing up her samples, satisfied with her work. 3 Vexitorians watched her with what could only be called fascination. The crisis was resolved. The predators weren't malfunctioning. They were adapting to humanity. Just like every other predator in Earth's long, terrifying history had eventually learned to do. The Galactic Council's closed session lasted 3 days. We've invested millennia into predator breeding programs, one representative argued. Countless resources, strategic advantages. Against everyone except the one species we actually needed them for, another countered. The vote was close, but the decision was final. All weapons-grade predator programs would be redesigned. Korvax was tasked with implementing BB's human interaction protocols across every facility. Enrichment activities, socialization practices, behavioral observation without dominance displays. Within a week, 17 species had requested information on Dr. Johnson's notebook method. Her unintentional framework, documentation without domination, observation without fear, was being studied by xenobiologists across 3 sectors. Security forces quietly removed predator deployment from all threat assessments involving human colonies. It was never going to work anyway, Jotaro admitted in his report. You can't weaponize predators against a species that turned wolves into pets. Dr. Emma Johnson packed up her camp on day 23, satisfied with her fungal documentation. She left her notebook on the folding chair for an extra hour, watching as the cubs approached it cautiously, sniffing, learning. You guys are good boys, she told the assembled predators, chuckling. Hey, Station 7, if you're still listening, these guys need enrichment toys. They're way too smart to just sit around all day. She folded the chair, waved to the Vexistorians, and headed to her shuttle. Her final log entry was characteristically brief. Great field work, locals were friendly. 1010 would research here again. Next stop, Andromeda Sector Fungal Biodiversity Survey. In the Galactic Council's highest security chamber, Xylax delivered his final assessment. Humanity domesticated wolves over 15,000 years ago, he said, turned apex predators into companions. Our predators were optimized for 3,000 years. They never stood a chance. The new policy was unanimous. Human wildlife biologists to be consulted before any predator program implementation. Someone asked the question everyone was thinking. Are humans apex predators? No, Janira answered quietly. There's something more concerning. They're apex predators who chose coexistence over dominance. They don't want to be at the top of the hierarchy. They want the hierarchy to function. Korvax watched Dr. Johnson's shuttle depart, then checked the camp location. 7 apex predator species stood at the perimeter, watching the sky. The cubs were still sleeping in a circle where her tent had been, curled together across species lines that should have been impossible to cross. He added one final note to her file. The human never noticed she'd changed everything. But then, he supposed, that was the most human thing of all.